All right, so you've sent over this pretty big stack of documents, including the 2023 annual report for, well, a big home improvement retailer. And
You're a familiar name.
that's right. I mean, everyone knows them.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to deep dive into, their performance, their strategies, their challenges, all in fiscal year 2023. Now, after 3 years of, exceptional performance in the home improvement market,
Right.
can this company, keep that momentum going?
That is the question, isn't it? And the report gives us a pretty interesting picture, actually. While, the sector as a whole, the home improvement sector seems to be cooling down a little bit, probably that post-pandemic effect,
Right, yeah.
This company's actually doubling down on, very specific strategic moves.
Okay.
Instead of just, riding the wave.
Okay, so let's dive into those numbers first. So how did they do, like financially speaking? What kind of year was it?
Well, it was a bit of a mixed bag, really. Total sales, they dipped by 3%, down to $152.7 billion. And net earnings came in at $15.1 billion. Earnings per share, that also took a hit, down 9.5% to $15.11. So, at first glance, you might think, uh-oh, are they stumbling a little bit? But, if you dig a little deeper, there are these underlying trends that tell, I think, a bit of a different story.
Interesting. So not like explosive growth that we saw in the past, but not like a total disaster either.
Right.
So what's the company's take on all this? Are they like freaking out internally? Like, are they hitting the panic button?
No, not at all. Instead of panicking, they're calling it, operational improvements and strategic growth opportunities.
Yeah.
They've got these 3 core priorities. It's delivering exceptional customer experiences, developing some unique capabilities, and staying on top, being the low-cost provider.
Right.
What I think is interesting here is it's not just reacting to the market. It's like they're actively trying to shape the market,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So they've got these goals, these priorities, but how are they turning that into action? Like, what are they actually, what's changing on the ground?
So one of the things that they're really shaking up is their focus on the, quote, pro customer.
Okay.
Professional contractors, remodelers, the people who are building and fixing things day in and day out.
Right. Yeah.
They're building this whole ecosystem around these pros.
Okay, that makes sense. They're the big spenders, right?
They are.
So how are they actually attracting these pros and keeping them, loyal? What's their like secret sauce?
Well, it's not just about like rock bottom prices or anything. It's a multi-pronged approach, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
They're investing in like dedicated fulfillment modes. So pros can get their materials delivered straight to the job site, right?
Okay.
They've set up these specialized sales organizations with experts who actually understand the unique needs of these pros. And they've even developed like digital platforms tailored to how pros work,
Right.
making it way easier to manage those big projects and orders and everything.
Okay, so they're streamlining the whole, experience for the pros, giving them all the tools they need to succeed.
Exactly.
But, and maybe this is, me being a little selfish here, but what about the DIY customers? The people like me, the weekend warriors, I'm not building decks every weekend. How does this whole pro focus, help the average person, the homeowner?
Well, that's a great question, and it kind of gets to the heart of how interconnected their strategy is, right?
Okay.
By making the pros happy, they're actually improving the experience for everyone.
Right.
Think about it. More job site deliveries means fewer pros, clogging up the aisles and competing for, limited inventory, right?
Right.
And for DIY customers, that means better product availability, a smoother shopping experience overall.
Okay, I see it.
Right.
So it's win-win, right?
Yeah, it's win-win.
Okay, so they're investing heavily in that pro experience, but what else is on the roadmap? Like, what other levers are they pulling to, drive growth in this market that seems to be, changing a little bit?
Here's one that kind of caught my eye. They're actually prioritizing new store openings.
Oh, wow.
Which is a big shift from their strategy for, the past 15 years, where it's been all about maximizing those sales in, the stores they've already got.
Okay, that's interesting. Why the sudden change? Are they seeing new opportunities in new places?
Exactly. They're planning to open, get this, around 80 new stores over the next 5 years.
Wow, that's ambitious.
Yeah, and 13 of them are already open in 2023.
Wow.
And this lets them tap into the growth in, areas where the population's booming.
Right.
Like the Sunbelt migration and all that,
Right.
But at the same time, it takes the pressure off of their existing stores, the ones that are already super busy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're admitting, hey, in some areas, we've simply outgrown what we've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need more space.
Okay, smart move. So expanding into new places while also optimizing the existing ones.
Yeah.
But what about, the people actually running these stores, the ones interacting with customers every day, the workforce? Are they investing in them as
Oh,
well?
absolutely. In 2023, they pumped in $1 billion incremental annualized compensation
Wow.
for their frontline hourly associates.
Okay, that's huge.
It's a big investment, and it ties directly back to that goal of, exceptional customer experiences.
Right.
They're basically saying, hey, happy employees, well-compensated employees, they're the key to great customer service.
Yeah, I mean, it's, makes sense. Investing in employees is crucial, especially when it's hard to find people.
Exactly.
But is it working? Like, is there any, sign that it's actually paying off, creating a better workplace?
The interesting thing is it seems to be working. Attrition rates have improved, especially among their veterans, the ones who've been there a while, which suggests that, they're building a place where people actually want to stay.
Right.
And lower attrition.
Yeah.
That means you've got a more experienced workforce, a more knowledgeable workforce, which translates to better customer service, higher productivity, maybe even a safer work environment overall.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, that's good news for everyone. Happy workforce, stable workforce. I mean, that's good for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of leadership, I noticed in the report a brief mention of a change at the top. Anne-Marie Campbell is taking on a new role.
Right. Yeah. She's been appointed the Senior Executive Vice President, responsible for both outside pro sales and installation services.
Okay.
And that move, I think, is pretty interesting.
Okay. How so? What does it mean to, have these two things combined under one leader?
Well, they're aligning the outside sales and the service teams with the global store organization. So they're creating a unified approach to serving those pro customers.
Right.
It streamlines communication, eliminates redundancy, and, it makes sure that all those pro initiatives we talked about, they all work together seamlessly. It's like they're sending a clear signal that, they are serious about owning that pro market.
Right. Okay. So they're, really streamlining their organizational structure to be more efficient and effective. Now, let's talk about their customers. It sounds like they've got a pretty good understanding of those pro customers. But who else are they going after? How do they segment the market?
Well, they've identified these 4 primary customer segments, each with, their own needs, their own behaviors, and their own kind of, quirks.
Okay, give me the rundown. Who are these segments?
Okay, so you got your DIY customers, your professional customers, those are the pros. Then there's the do-it-for-me DIFM customers. And then last but not least, you got the MRO customers.
Okay, let's break those down one by one. Starting with, the DIYers. What exactly defines a DIY customer and what are their, key characteristics?
Well, DIY customers are essentially those homeowners who are, tackling projects and installations themselves.
Right.
Like they might be, your weekend warriors, enthusiastic beginners, or even like those really experienced DIYers.
Right.
The ones who could pretty much do it all. And the company is really trying to adapt to how, the preferences and behaviors of this segment are changing.
Yeah, it seems like the DIY market is, it's exploding these days, right?
Oh, yeah.
With all the online tutorials and, the home improvement shows and all that. So how are they keeping up with all those trends? Like, how are they catering to all those DIY ambitions?
Well, they're putting a lot of effort into building those capabilities that empower those DIYers.
Okay.
Things like offering a wider selection of products that are geared toward, smaller scale projects.
Right.
Enhancing their online resources and tutorials.
And even hosting in-store workshops and events.
Oh, cool.
They really want to make DIY projects less intimidating and more accessible for everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Empower those DIYers, turn them into loyal customers.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about those professional customers, the pros.
Right.
Just to recap, who are they again and what makes them different from, us regular DIY folks?
So the pros, they're the professionals who do this for a living, right? Your renovators, your general contractors, maintenance professionals, that sort of thing.
Right.
They're working on, everything from single-family homes to multifamily buildings, hospitality, even commercial projects.
Okay.
And, they're often buying in bulk. They need those specialized products and services.
Right.
And they really value efficiency and reliability.
Makes sense.
Yeah, time is money for them.
Right.
And as we talked about earlier, the companies, I mean, they're really going all in on attracting and retaining these pros.
Right.
It's a big part of their strategy.
It is.
Now, what about the homeowners who, they just want to leave it to the experts, the ones who don't want to get their hands dirty? Where do they fit in?
That's where the do-it-for-me customers come in, the DIM crowd.
Okay, the DIM
Yeah,
data.
these are the homeowners who hire those pros to handle their projects,
Right.
instead of doing it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the company's serving this segment through its installation services,
Okay.
which covers, a ton of categories.
Okay.
Everything from flooring and water heaters to like full-on kitchen and bath remodels.
Oh, wow. So it's like a one-stop shop for those who just want it all done for them,
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like a smart way to, grab a different slice of the market.
Right.
But how does this DIMM approach, how does it work with their focus on the pros? Are they competing with their own pro customers?
No, not at all. It's actually pretty synergistic.
Okay.
You see, by offering these installation services, they're not only serving the DIM customers directly,
Right.
but they're also driving product sales through those pros who are actually doing the installations.
Okay.
It's like they're creating this pipeline of business for their pro customers.
Right.
Strengthening those relationships and really solidifying their position as, the go-to place for everything home improvement.
Yeah, it's like a win-win-win.
Right. For the company, for the pros, and for those DIFM customers.
Exactly. Everybody's happy.
Everybody wins.
Okay, so we've got, DIY, we've got pros, we've got DAM.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that fourth customer segment you mentioned? Four.
Yeah. The fourth one is the MRO market.
The MRO. Okay.
Which stands for maintenance, repair, and operations.
Okay.
And this segment's mostly property managers, facility managers.
Okay.
The folks who keep those big buildings running smoothly. Think apartment complexes, hotels, hospitals, government buildings, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it sounds like a completely different ball game than, serving individual homeowners.
Right.
What's different about their approach to this MRO market?
Well, the MRO market has its own quirks.
Yeah.
It's a different beast.
Yeah.
These customers, they often have longer-term relationships.
Oh.
They spend more money.
Mm-hmm.
And their purchasing needs are, they're more complex.
So it's a different game.
It is.
Okay, so how are they winning in this market?
So they mainly serve this segment through their subsidiary, HD Supply,
Okay.
which lets them tailor their approach to the very specific needs of these MRO customers.
Okay.
They've got a separate brand, a dedicated sales force,
Mm-hmm.
a distribution center-based model,
Okay.
and even specialized e-commerce platforms.
Yeah.
And get this, they still use print catalogs.
Wow, old school.
Yeah. For some of those MRO customers, that's still the way to go.
Wow, okay, so they're not just trying to be a jack of all trades.
Right.
They're creating these separate, specialized businesses to serve each of these markets.
Right.
It's a pretty sophisticated approach.
Yeah, it's pretty smart.
Okay, so now shifting gears a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about, their commitment to safety.
Yep.
I mean, the home improvement industry, it can be dangerous, right?
Oh, yeah.
All those tools, heavy equipment, potential hazards, all that.
Absolutely.
So how are they addressing safety for both, their employees and their customers?
Well, safety's really baked into their culture.
Okay.
They even have this principle. It's called taking care of our people,
Oh,
which is, part of their core values.
right.
But it's not just words on a page.
Okay.
They're actually creating this proactive safety culture.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice? How are they going beyond just, the basic safety rules? How are they creating a truly safe environment?
Well, it starts with, leadership. Their execs, they're really setting the tone by emphasizing safety at every level.
Okay.
Empowering associates to prioritize safety over speed or convenience.
Right.
They're also using data, a lot of data,
Okay.
to figure out those high-risk areas.
Right.
And then they invest in the tools, the equipment, the technology to mitigate those risks.
So it's not just about, reacting to accidents.
Right.
It's about preventing them.
Exactly. They're constantly analyzing their processes and looking for ways to improve.
Okay, so it's that, continuous improvement mindset
Yes.
applied to safety.
Exactly.
They're not settling for, good enough.
Nope.
Now, what about training? Are they giving their employees, the knowledge and skills they need to work safely?
Oh, yeah. Training is huge for them.
Okay.
They've got these comprehensive training programs for all their associates,
Okay.
covering everything
Yeah.
from, basic procedures to hazard identification to, like, emergency response.
Right.
They also have these dedicated EH&S professionals.
Yeah. Okay, the EH&S.
Yeah, environment, health, and safety.
Right.
And these folks, they're responsible for developing and enforcing safety policies across the entire company.
Okay, so they've got the systems in place,
Mm-hmm.
the training, the culture
Yeah,
to create a safer environment for, for everybody.
exactly.
Now let's talk about their approach to, talent attraction and development.
Okay.
I mean, the retail industry, it's competitive.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to find good people, and it's even harder to keep them, right?
It is. It's a challenge.
So how are they navigating this tight labor market? Like, how are they finding and keeping those skilled workers?
Well, they realize that, their people are a key differentiator.
Okay.
So they go above and beyond to attract and retain top talent.
Okay.
They're really trying to create a customer-like experience
Interesting.
for job seekers.
Okay.
Focusing on speed,
Yeah.
personalization, transparency, throughout the whole hiring process.
Okay, so they're applying those like customer-centric principles to, their recruiting efforts.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some of the like specific steps they're taking to make that job search process, more appealing?
Well, their careers website's a good example.
Yeah.
It's, user-friendly, mobile optimized,
Right.
and they even personalize it based on your location and like what you're looking at on the site.
Wow.
Yeah. They're also streamlining the application process,
Okay.
making it as seamless as possible.
Right.
They offer self-service scheduling for like pre-hire activities.
Mm-hmm.
And for certain roles, they even have this like fast-track hiring process.
Oh, wow. So they're really trying to like remove those roadblocks,
Yeah.
make it super easy for people to join the team.
It's all about removing those friction points,
Yeah, I get it.
making it as smooth as possible.
Okay, it sounds like they're trying to stand out from the crowd and, make a good first impression. But what about once those employees are on board? Like, how are they making sure that they stay, that they're engaged, motivated, and, growing within the company?
So they've made some interesting changes to their structure
Okay.
to really prioritize, associate development and engagement.
Right.
They've added these new store management positions
Okay.
that are focused specifically on customer service.
Okay, how does that work? Like, why is that important for employee development?
So having more managers on the floor at any given time
Okay.
frees up other leaders to focus on, training, coaching, mentoring their team members.
Right.
It creates a more supportive environment for the associates,
Okay.
and it gives them clear career paths within the company.
Right.
And as a bonus, it lets them respond more quickly and effectively to customer needs.
Right. So it's good for everybody.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Okay. So they're investing in leadership development to create a more, engaged and skilled workforce.
Exactly.
Now, I want to touch on their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI.
Okay.
I mean, this is such a crucial topic these days, right?
It is.
So how is this company approaching DEI, both, internally and within their communities?
They're really clear about their belief that diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's not just a nice to have, it's crucial to their success.
Okay.
They've got these three main priorities for their DEI efforts: associate engagement, supplier diversity, and community engagement.
Okay, let's unpack those a little bit. Starting with associate engagement, how are they building, a more inclusive workplace?
They're really focused on fostering an environment where everyone feels valued, respected, and, empowered to contribute their unique talents.
Right.
So they're promoting equal opportunities across the board.
Okay.
Everything from recruitment and hiring to training and development to, even those advancement opportunities.
So it's not just about like checking boxes.
Right.
It's about creating a culture where everyone feels like they belong and can thrive. What about supplier diversity? How are they making sure that their supply chain, reflects their commitment to DEI?
They're working to increase their spending with diverse suppliers.
Okay.
Minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned, LGBTQ plus-owned businesses, all of that.
Right.
And they see this as a way to, support those underrepresented businesses, strengthen their communities,
Right.
and even drive innovation by, tapping into a wider range of perspectives and ideas.
Right. It's about, putting their money where their mouth is, using their purchasing power to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Now, how about community engagement? How are they extending those DEI efforts beyond, the walls of their own company?
Well, they're partnering with organizations that are tackling the wealth gap
Okay.
and supporting programs that, promote education for everyone, regardless of background.
Mm-hmm.
They're also focused on creating economic opportunities in underserved communities,
Okay.
both through, their hiring practices and their community development initiatives.
Right.
It's about being a good neighbor
Mm-hmm.
and using their influence to create a more just and equitable society.
Right. So they're taking a pretty holistic approach to DEI,
Yeah, it's multifaceted.
addressing it from multiple angles.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about, compensation and benefits.
Okay.
I mean, in this job market, companies have to offer, attractive packages to get and keep good people.
Oh, yeah, it's a talent war out there.
So how do their offerings, stack up? How are they doing?
They get it. They understand that competitive compensation and benefits are like table stakes these days.
Right.
So they're always investing in wages, making sure they keep pace with, how the market's changing.
Right.
And that their employees are fairly compensated for their hard work.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that you offer competitive pay.
Right.
But what does it actually look like? Like, what are the highlights of their, compensation and benefits package?
Well, for starters, they've got this profit-sharing program for their hourly associates, so they get a direct stake in the company's success.
That's nice.
And their healthcare and wellness programs they're really comprehensive.
Right.
They offer a bunch of different options to meet, everyone's needs.
Right.
They've also got generous paid time off,
Okay.
vacation time, sick leave, parental leave, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so they're going beyond just, the basics
Yeah.
to create a package that really supports, their employees' well-being.
Absolutely.
Now, what about retirement savings and, financial wellness? Are they helping their employees plan for the future?
Oh, yeah. They offer a 401k plan
Okay.
with a company match
Right.
to help employees build that nest egg for retirement.
Right.
They also have those employee stock purchase plans, the ESPPs,
Mm-hmm.
which let employees buy company stock at a discount.
Okay.
And they even have financial education programs
Oh,
to
wow.
help employees make smart decisions about their money.
Okay, so they're taking this, holistic approach to employee well-being,
Yeah, it's the whole package.
addressing everything from, physical and mental health to financial security.
It's about taking care of their people.
Now let's move on to their commitment to operating sustainably.
Yeah.
I mean, sustainability is a big deal these days, right?
Oh, yeah. It's top of mind for everyone.
Consumers, investors, employees, they're all demanding that companies, step up and act responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how is this company approaching sustainability?
It's more than just a buzzword for them.
Okay.
It's really a core part of how they do business.
Okay.
They've had this long-standing commitment to reducing their environmental impact.
Right.
And they've set some pretty ambitious goals for the future.
Okay, so what are those goals? What are they focusing on specifically?
Their sustainability efforts, they kind of fall into these 3 main buckets:
Okay.
protecting the climate, reducing their environmental impact, and sourcing products responsibly.
Okay.
They actually put out this detailed ESG report that, lays it all out. Their progress, their plans, all of it. It's worth a read.
Yeah, transparency is key when it comes to sustainability.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into those 3 buckets, starting with, climate change.
Okay.
What are they doing to, reduce their carbon footprint?
So they've set these science-based targets for emissions reductions,
Okay.
which means they're, following the latest climate science.
Right.
And they're really trying to do their part to, limit global warming.
Mm-hmm.
Their goal is to reduce their scope 1 and 2 emissions.
Okay. Scope 1 and 2.
Yeah, those are the emissions from their own operations and, the energy they buy.
Right.
And they want to cut those by 42% by the end of 2030.
Wow, that's a big reduction.
It is.
But what about Scope 3 emissions?
Right.
Those are the ones from, their supply chain and the use of their products, right?
Yeah, the trickier ones.
Are they doing anything about those?
They are.
Okay.
They're also committed to cutting their Scope 3 Category 11 emissions, which are the ones specifically from the use of their products.
Right.
And they want to cut those by 42% as well by 2030.
Okay.
So they're working with their suppliers to reduce emissions across the whole life cycle of their products,
Right.
from manufacturing to transportation to disposal.
So it's like a comprehensive approach, right?
Yeah, they're tackling it from all angles.
Addressing emissions across their whole value chain.
Exactly.
Now, what about their environmental impact beyond just, climate change?
Okay.
What are they doing to, like, reduce waste, conserve resources, and minimize their overall footprint?
Well, they've got a whole bunch of initiatives going on.
Okay.
Things like energy efficiency programs in their stores and distribution centers,
Right.
waste reduction and recycling programs,
Okay.
sustainable packaging initiatives.
Right.
They're also working to reduce their water usage and protect water quality.
Okay, so they're really trying to minimize their impact, in every part of the business.
Yeah, they're looking at every aspect of their operations.
Now, how about responsible sourcing?
Hmm.
How are they ensuring that the products they sell are, produced ethically and sustainably?
They're working closely with their suppliers to put those responsible sourcing practices in place,
Right.
focusing on things like sustainable forestry, responsible chemistry, fair labor practices, all of that.
Right.
And they're also increasing their selection of environmentally friendly products.
Okay.
So they're helping customers, make those more sustainable choices.
Right, so it's not just about what they're doing themselves.
Right.
They're using their influence to drive change throughout their whole supply chain.
Exactly. It's about leading by example.
Now, let's talk about government regulations.
Right.
The home improvement industry, it's got to be subject to a lot of regulations.
Right, yeah. It's a heavily regulated space.
From safety standards to environmental rules, all of that.
Absolutely.
So how are they navigating this, this complex regulatory landscape?
They're operating in a really complex environment,
Oh.
both in the U.S. and internationally.
Right.
It's this web of laws, regulations, permitting requirements, all of that.
It sounds like a nightmare.
It can be.
Covering everything from, product safety and environmental compliance to labor relations and consumer protection.
It's a lot to keep track of.
So how are they managing to stay on top of all these rules and, avoid getting in trouble?
They've invested a lot in their legal and compliance functions.
Okay.
They've got a whole team of experts
Right.
whose job it is to monitor those regulatory changes,
Okay.
assess compliance risks,
Mm-hmm.
and implement policies and procedures to make sure, they're doing everything by the book.
Okay, so they're not taking any chances when it comes to compliance.
No, they're very proactive.
They're trying to, get ahead of those potential issues.
Mitigate those legal and reputational risks.
Right.
Exactly.
Now let's move on to, their strategic risks.
Okay.
Every company faces challenges.
Oh, yeah. It's inevitable.
It's important to understand what those potential pitfalls are, the things that could, derail their success.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the key risks that they've identified in their annual report?
Well, they're pretty upfront about the challenges.
Okay.
They've listed a whole bunch of risks.
All right, give me the rundown.
Okay, so we've got intense competition,
Okay.
evolving customer expectations,
Mm-hmm.
the need to manage all these investments and changes effectively,
Right.
their reliance on information technology,
Okay.
potential supply chain disruptions,
Mm-hmm.
payment-related risks,
Okay.
seasonality and, catastrophic events,
Right.
economic fluctuations,
Mm-hmm.
climate change impacts,
Okay.
supplier risks associated with global sourcing,
Right.
international market challenges,
Okay.
and of course the ever-present threat of cybersecurity incidents.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a long list.
It sounds like they're facing headwinds from, every direction.
There are definitely challenges.
Okay, so let's break down some of those risks, starting with competition.
Right.
What's the competitive landscape like in the home improvement industry? Who are their main rivals and, where are those battles being fought?
Yeah, it's a tough market for sure. A lot of players.
It is.
So how are they differentiating themselves? What are their strengths and weaknesses?
Well, they're using their size to their advantage,
Uh-huh.
Their brand recognition,
Oh.
the huge selection they offer, convenient locations, that omni-channel shopping experience, and of course their focus on customer service.
Okay.
They're also, putting a lot of money into technology and innovation,
Right.
trying to stay ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
But it's a challenge for them, right? To keep those prices low while also investing in all these growth initiatives.
Right. It's a balancing act.
It is.
Okay, so what about evolving customer needs and expectations? How is that changing the game for these, home improvement retailers?
Well, customers are, they're way more informed now.
Right. And they're more demanding.
Mm-hmm.
They want personalized experiences, seamless online and in-store shopping, fast and affordable delivery.
Right.
And they're, looking for companies that are committed to sustainability.
Okay.
And of course, they're also super sensitive to price changes and, how the economy's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not enough to just have stuff on the shelves anymore.
No, not at all.
You got to create that, engaging and convenient experience that meets those expectations.
All about the experience now.
Okay, so what about managing those investments and changes effectively? I mean, they're making these big bets on the future.
Right.
But what are the risks with those investments?
Well, they're pouring money into new stores, tech upgrades, supply chain improvements, customer experience initiatives.
Okay.
And all that needs to be managed carefully, right?
Yeah.
They need to make sure those investments are, well-timed, well-planned, cost-effective, and that they actually align with their goals, their strategy.
Right.
If they mess up, if there are delays, it could hurt their profits and their competitive position.
Okay, so it's not just about spending money.
No.
It's about spending it wisely.
Exactly.
Making sure those investments actually deliver.
Mm-hmm.
What about their reliance on information technology? I mean, everything's connected these days.
It is.
What are some of the specific risks they're facing in that area?
Well, they rely heavily on IT, right? For their operations, customer interactions, all their growth initiatives.
Okay.
And they're spending a ton of money to modernize their systems, move things to the cloud,
Right.
boost their cybersecurity, and experiment with new technologies.
Like AI and all that.
Yeah, all that.
So they're going all in on this digital transformation.
Yeah.
But what could go wrong? What are the downsides?
Well, if their systems go down, if there are disruptions or failures, it could really hurt their business.
Okay.
They're vulnerable to cyber attacks, outages, data breaches, even software glitches.
Right.
And they also need to manage the complexities of integrating all these new systems, migrating all that data, while also making sure their existing systems are, secure and reliable.
So this is balancing act between innovation and risk management.
It is. It's a tough one.
What about their supply chain? I mean, we've all seen how those disruptions can, really mess things up.
Right.
Are they concerned about that?
Oh, they are very aware of the potential for supply chain problems.
Okay.
I mean, they've been through it recently, right?
Yeah.
Port congestion, shipping delays, labor shortages, geopolitical stuff. It's all impacted their ability to, get products to their customers.
Okay, so they're not immune to all those global challenges.
No, nobody is these days.
So what are they doing to, try to mitigate those risks and make their supply chain more resilient?
Well, they're diversifying their sourcing,
Okay.
trying to build stronger relationships with their suppliers,
Mm-hmm.
investing in inventory management technology,
Okay.
exploring alternative transportation options.
Right.
And they're even considering, nearshoring or reshoring some of their production
Okay.
to reduce their reliance on those overseas suppliers.
So they're trying to build in some flexibility, some redundancy.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to cover all their bases.
Okay, so let's talk about payment-related risks.
Okay.
I mean, they accept all sorts of payment methods, right?
They do.
Cash, credit cards, digital wallets, mobile payments, all that.
It's the modern world.
What are some of the, challenges they're facing in this area?
Well, the payments landscape it's constantly changing.
Right.
New technologies, new regulations, new scams all the time.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with.
It is, but they have to, right?
Right.
To protect themselves and their customers.
Absolutely. So what are some of those specific payment risks they've highlighted?
So they're worried about complying with data security standards, like PCI, DSS,
Okay.
and privacy regulations like GDPR.
They're also, vulnerable to fraud and cyber attacks,
Right.
especially those targeting their payment systems.
Right.
And they've got to manage the risks that come with their trade credit program.
Okay, that's the one where they extend credit to their pro customers.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, a lot of potential problems in that area.
Definitely.
What about seasonality and, those catastrophic events? How does that stuff impact their business?
Well, it's a cyclical business, right?
Right.
Sales go up and down throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also, exposed to weather, natural disasters, and other things that could, shut things down,
Right.
damage their facilities, or
Yeah.
impact how much people are spending.
Yeah, all that stuff can be hard to predict and even harder to control.
It is.
So how are they mitigating those risks?
Well, they've got business continuity plans.
Okay.
They invest in disaster preparedness, and they buy insurance to protect against those losses.
Yep.
And they're using data analytics to track weather patterns, forecast demand, and adjust their inventory accordingly.
So they're trying to anticipate those ups and downs and the unexpected stuff to, minimize disruptions.
They are.
Okay, now let's talk about the big one, the economy.
Mm-hmm.
How are those economic fluctuations like inflation and all that, how's that impacting them?
Well, it's a volatile environment out there, right?
It is.
Inflation's up, interest rates are rising, there are concerns about a recession, and all of that affects how much people spend and how confident businesses feel.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is.
Those economic headwinds can make it hard for any business to succeed.
Absolutely.
So how are they dealing with all that? How are they staying profitable in, all this uncertainty?
Well, they're keeping a close eye on all those economic indicators.
Okay.
They're adjusting their prices, managing costs carefully,
Right.
and really focusing on giving their customers the best value possible.
Okay.
And they're also looking for opportunities,
Yeah.
like maybe they can grab some market share from competitors who aren't as well prepared for a downturn.
Right. So they're playing offense and defense at the same time,
Yeah.
trying to seize opportunities while also protecting their core business.
It's a balancing act.
It is. Okay, what about climate change? I mean, we hear a lot about how that could affect businesses.
Right.
Is that something they're worried about?
Oh, yeah. They're acknowledging those potential risks and opportunities.
Okay.
They're trying to reduce their own impact, adapt to changing weather patterns,
Right.
and offer products and services that help their customers do the same.
So they see it as both a challenge and an opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay, what about their suppliers? They work with, this global network to get their products. What are the risks with that?
Well, global sourcing, it could be a bit of a mixed bag. Right. It gives you access to a wider range of products at better prices.
Right.
But it also exposes you to a lot of risks.
Like what?
Well, political instability in some countries.
Right.
Economic ups and downs, natural disasters, labor disputes, supply chain disruptions.
Right.
It can get complicated.
Yeah, those global supply chains are fragile.
They are.
So how are they managing those supplier risks?
They're really vetting those suppliers carefully.
Okay.
They're diversifying their sourcing, building those relationships with key suppliers,
Right.
monitoring the geopolitical stuff, and having backup plans in case things go wrong.
Smart.
And they're also, exploring the possibility of sourcing more products domestically or, closer to home.
Okay.
So they're not as reliant on those overseas suppliers.
So they're being proactive about managing those risks.
They are, because a stable supply chain is essential, right?
Absolutely. Now let's talk about their international operations.
Okay.
They've got stores in Canada and Mexico, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the, unique challenges they face in those markets?
Well, operating internationally comes with a whole different set of challenges. Cultural differences, language barriers, different regulations, currency fluctuations, and political risks,
Yeah, it's not just a copy-paste from the U.S.
No, it's not.
You got to adapt.
Right.
So what specific risks have they identified?
Well, they're concerned about complying with local laws and regulations,
Okay.
managing those currency exchange rates, adapting to those cultural differences,
Right.
protecting their intellectual property,
Okay.
and, navigating all that political and economic uncertainty in those markets.
So they're facing a lot of complexity, but they're also recognizing the growth potential there.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to cybersecurity.
Okay.
It's a big concern for any company these days.
Yeah, but especially for retailers.
Right, because they have all that customer data.
Exactly.
So how are they approaching this?
They're taking it very seriously.
Okay.
They've got this whole cybersecurity program in place
Okay.
designed to protect their systems, their data, their customers, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so what's in this program? What are they actually doing to, defend themselves against those cyber attacks?
Well, they've invested a lot in infrastructure, technologies, personnel.
Okay.
They've got things like multi-factor authentication,
Okay.
data encryption, network segmentation, intrusion detection systems, security awareness training for employees.
Right. So trying to build that human firewall as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what else?
Well, they're also doing those regular security assessments, vulnerability scanning,
Right.
penetration testing,
Okay.
all that stuff to find and fix any weaknesses in their systems.
So it's a multi-layered approach, right?
Yeah, technology, processes, people, all working together.
Right, to create a strong defense.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about legal proceedings.
Okay.
I mean, big companies, they get sued, right? It's part of doing business.
This comes with the territory.
So are there any legal issues that could, really impact their business?
Well, they're involved in some legal stuff like most big companies, but they don't think any of it will seriously hurt their financial position or their operations.
So no major legal threats on the horizon.
Not that they're aware of.
Now, okay, what about ethical considerations? Are there any, ethical dilemmas or controversies that they're dealing with?
Well, they're committed to operating ethically and responsibly.
Okay.
They've got a code of conduct
Right.
that lays out their principles and expectations for their employees, their suppliers, everyone they work with.
Right.
And they're also focused on, diversity, equity, inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
supporting their communities, minimizing their environmental impact, all that good stuff.
So they're trying to, be a good corporate citizen,
Yeah.
balancing those business objectives with their social responsibilities.
Right.
Okay, well, we've covered a ton of ground here.
We have.
They've had a year of, moderating growth.
Mm-hmm.
They're adapting to all these changes in the market and what customers want.
Right.
And they're investing in their people, their technology, their sustainability efforts.
They're making moves.
So what's the big takeaway here? What's the story this annual report's telling us?
I think they're facing challenges, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also positioning themselves for the long haul.
Okay.
They're investing in what matters. Their customers, their employees, their technology, their sustainability.
Right.
And they're taking steps to deal with the risks out there.
Mm-hmm.
The competition, the economic stuff, the supply chain issues, cybersecurity, all of it.
So they're playing the long game, making smart decisions to stay ahead of the curve.
That's what it looks like.
And it seems like they're not just focused on profits.
Right.
They're trying to build a sustainable business, one that benefits everyone, their employees, their customers, their communities, the environment.
They're trying to create a win-win for everybody involved.
Exactly. And that's something we can all get behind.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that just about wraps up our deep dive into this, home improvement giant.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
We analyzed their financials, looked at their strategic initiatives, explored all those risks they're facing.
From customer segmentation to supply chain management to cybersecurity, it's been a thorough exploration.
It has, and we hope you found it insightful.
I hope so.
A huge thank you to you for providing all those documents.
It was my pleasure.
And for, trusting us with this deep dive.
Anytime.
And to you, our listener, thanks for joining us on this journey.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you've gained a better understanding of this company, their challenges, and their opportunities.
And if you have any questions,
don't hesitate to reach out.
we're always here to help.
Until next time.
Take care.